kind of, when you present this to me, one's called creating positive change, the other is finding a way to win. And creating positive change, for one thing, it is, we think of change as a process approach. You do step A, and you go to step B, and so on and so forth. Actually, what it is acts of consciousness and not a process. Because you've already determined that you need to create change in your life, or in your store, or whatever you're applying that change to. So you've already determined that, and the next, basically, you have to determine what direction you want that change to be. It's always got to be a positive. And it's kind of a growth and not a process. Human beings are hardwired to take a process approach to things. Think of a primitive man walking across the savannah, comes across a termite mound, says, you know, that could be food. So he takes a stick, pokes it, termites come out, he eats termites, he goes, well, you know what, I'm not going to be hungry. But he also gained knowledge of that fact that, you know, he could eat this and continue to survive. So we kind of take both a process and a growth approach on creating change in our life and in our stores. So we have to look at places where we can make change. And it's kind of acts of development, like I said, simple to complex. A simple change is maybe looking at, you put a sign here instead of over here. That moving it creates a little more attention to it. Brad, over Christmas time, brought this forth, putting the fireplace scene on one of his LCD TVs, using air freshener around the store. Those are simple acts of change that create a positive atmosphere, a positive forward motion. I gotta keep referring to my notes. So, and change also has to be holistic. When we look at this in our lives, and we also apply it to our stores, 5 elements: social, economic, physical, mental, and spiritual, personal. Social means you surround yourself with the people that you want to be around. You surround yourself in your store with associates that you want to have that will sell, do what you want them to do, and make your store better. Economic, it's simple. Money. Boils down to money. Realize this, that 50% of divorces in the United States can be traced back to issues with money. So if you solve your money problems, that means A, you get those spiffs. You show your associates they're getting those spiffs. And what happens is A, they feel better about themselves, they're making progress forward, and they're helping you out. Physical. And physical doesn't mean so much that we all have to look like Mr. or Mrs. America, Mr. or Mrs. Universe, but we make small changes in how we approach things. Physical can be making sure our stores are properly merchandised, how it looks, how we look. And one of the biggest changes I made in my life 10 years ago was just to grow a goatee. I got tired of looking myself in the mirror and I'm saying, you know, I'm not satisfied with how I look. I grew a goatee and I said, you know what, I like the way I look. And that's part of physical, being comfortable in your skin, in who you are, which in turn relates to how you deal with people. Once you're comfortable with yourself, you can deal with people on any level. You can take that angry customer and say, you know what, he's not going to get me down. I'm not going to reflect back to him. I'm going to try to deal with him calmly. Mental. Constantly challenge yourself. Do things to keep the mind active. Do things to push yourself forward. Constantly learn. I mean, we have training modules. We have different things out there. If we push ourselves to do everything in those, we're going to improve our knowledge, A, our product knowledge, B, turn this on our associate and say, hey, you know what, you can be the best at this. Or take an associate and say, I want you to learn everything about Sirius. Inside and out. When it comes, a customer comes in for Sirius, you're the one that's going to deal with them, you're going to want to talk to them, you're the one that's going to help out the associate that may start with them and get them going on that way. That's mental. The last one is spiritual, personal. And this also reflects being comfortable in your own skin. Let's say you have to be satisfied, happy, enjoyable with who you are, and that reflects back on how you deal with people. Remember, we're in the business of dealing with people on an everyday basis. We talk to customers. We may not always get that sale, but that customer's going to remember, I had a good experience with this person. I didn't have a good experience with this person. I'm going to come back. I'm not going to come back. And that spiritual personal is saying, okay, I've done all these other things. Am I still happy with who I am? If you're not, then you've got to figure out what doesn't make you happy about yourself. Your hair color, you need to lose weight, you need to gain weight, you need to get out of a relationship, because everything outside of work reflects back in how we do it. If you're not happy at home, you're not going to be happy at work, you're not going to be happy by yourself. So we just take those and we pull them back. And see, you must find some change and growth in each area for the change to work. And I kind of gave this thing, it's called piecing it together with respect. I am, success is your choice. And that's that top part of the list. And I like this quote from Helen Keller. I've used this when I did presentations for other years. I'm only one, but I'm still one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. I will not refuse to do the something I can do. Basically meaning, you know, whatever happens, it all falls back into me. If I act or don't act, I'm still acting. If I go left or go right, I'm still going to do something, and I'm not going to stand in the middle and go, I'm not going to do anything. So you've got to either say, hey, I will do this or I will do this, but whatever I do, I'm going to stand by that decision to do something. Now we get on to finding a way to win. And this is in our own stores. One, reach out to your community. You know, I deal with about 90 parents of kids every week. I'm in Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts. And those parents know I work at Radio Shack. I see them in there on a daily basis. I live in a small community, like Clinton, like Muscatine, like Macomb. We're your small knit area. You can, in some ways, you get to know these people because A, you live there, B, your children are involved in things if those of you have children. But also getting involved in the community is doing something as simple as going to community events, being noticed. I mean, I walk after work, if I got my Radio Shack shirt on, I'm over at Sullivan's doing grocery shopping. After work, people see me and they talk to me and they go, I need this. I tell them, I'm there tomorrow, come in and see me. And I had a lady who was getting frustrated with Singular because she had gotten her phone as a modem, basically $59.99 data plan for her Razor, for her laptop. She travels a lot, got frustrated with it. She didn't want to do the wireless direct to you for to get an air card. We got air cards in. She came in on Saturday and bought an air card from me. And half hour later, she comes back. She brings me a 6-pack of beer. Because and I didn't think anything about it. She asked me what kind of beer I drank. And I just said, you know, I drink dark beer. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just an offhanded question as I'm finishing up. She walks back in, sets on my counter a 6-pack of beer saying, thank you for all the work you've done, because we spent an hour and a half going through Sprint, getting the card activated, getting the software downloaded, showing her how to use it on her computer. The whole works, and she walked out happy. Get involved in your community. 2, think out of the box, try a new approach to something. How many times have we sat there, we're banging our heads against the wall, can't find any way to do something different? Then you just take an off-the-wall idea. You know, this will work. It's like when I do performance selling in my store, I say, okay, I want you to get me from this resistor to a cell phone. How are you going to do it? How are you going to start off that customer that comes in for a resistor and get them to a cell phone, or get them to a iPod, or get them to a GPS unit? 5 steps. You know, they always say everyone's 5 steps removed from somebody famous. 5 steps connect any one of us to someone else. So let's think out of the box. And we've been doing this all day today. Educate, 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 practice, practice, practice. What made Michael Jordan probably one of the best basketball players in history? Raw talent in the fact that he would practice and practice and practice and practice for hours. We can do as many skill practices as we want. You know, if we don't have the raw talent there to work with, we may be beating our heads against the wall. But I approach sales as an education process. I like to take my customers and educate them on the product, because I may not be the best salesman. I'll admit to that. I'm not the best salesman. But if I approach it as an education process, I'm more likely going to get the sale, because they've decided, hey, you know what? He knows what he's talking about. I may not be pushy. I may not say, you need this. And I'll show you. I'll say, okay, let me show you how this works. Let me show you what you can do with this. Let me show you how we can get from here to here. Focus on what you can change or affect. What can, in our stores, what can we change and affect as far as customers coming in? We really can't, in destination stores, you can't change that the customer's going to stop or not. In the mall, you see people walking by. You can kind of affect that. You can do things to pull them in because they're just strolling by. They may say, that looks good. Strip malls, it's a little different, a little difficult, unless you have other retail around you. But what you can do is change how you approach people, or you can change how your associates approach people. You know, you get people that instead of standing behind the counter and greeting them when they walk in, they walk around outside the counter and say, hey, how you doing? You greet them right when you walk in the door. You affect their shopping experience. And Matt was saying, was putting on this, he didn't feel energy when he came into my store. So we decided, you know what, we'll create a little energy. We'll turn the music up front a little bit. You know, that kind of pumps it up, change the channel around. It's something that our customers will enjoy. Small changes, small changes. Develop trust with your associates and trust with your peers. This is the biggest thing. Your associates need to know that if they start with a customer, they're going to finish with that customer, even if you give them help, that you're not going to take that customer away from them. You know, our associates, like us, depend on those spiffs for that extra money. So if we basically shark every customer that they start with, is there going to be any trust there, or are we going to lose associates because, you know what, you come, every time, I'm the associate, every time I start with a customer, you come up and you end up taking the sale. Does that develop any trust? You know, but if they say, hey, you know what, thank you for helping me out with that sale, that develops trust right there. You want your associates to feel comfortable working with you and working without you. And like your peers, you want to know that if, you know what, I send a customer to Andrew's store, that they're going to be taken care of as much as they're going to be taken care of in my own store. Network with others. And this goes back to getting involved in your community. Network with other managers of other businesses not related to Radio Shack. I talk to the manager at Maurice's. I talk to the manager over at Dollar Tree all the time. And they tell me, hey, you know, we have this going on. I tell them, okay, this is what we have going on. Can we put in a flyer in your break room? Can we talk to your associates? We have a special day coming up. And we kind of get this little network going. I know when, even though I don't shop at Maurice's because it's primarily women's clothing, but my wife does. And I'll tell her, hey, you know what? They have a great sale going on. If you need shirts or shorts, go see them. Then they come in over and see me when I've got, especially special deals on cell phones. You know, a lot of teenage girls that work at Maurice's that come in and see me about their phones. And the last thing is find a sounding board. And that sounding board is a person you bounce your ideas off. You know, you have to have someone who is not partial or impartial to say, hey, I've got this idea. Let me run it by you. Sometimes it's our spouse. Sometimes it's our buddy down at the pool hall. Sometimes it's our girlfriend we talk to on the phone all the time. It's got to be somebody that you can bounce ideas off of. Because if you can't get an honest opinion on an idea, how valid is the idea and how valid is the opinion? You find that person that says, okay, I'm going to tell you straight up. My wife will tell me, you know, that won't work. And usually she's right. You know, those of us who are married, our wives are about sounding boards, because usually they're going to tell us what we don't want to hear, but we need to hear.
Oh yeah.
And those of you who aren't married, guys especially, when you get married, life is completely different. It used to be the bachelor pad, now it's something else again.
It's a beating. It's a beating pad.
It's a big, but yeah, you got to find that sounding board, that person to bounce the idea off of, and you know, pick someone you trust and you value their opinion. You don't want the guy that always sits next to you at the pool hall that after his fifth whatever will tell you that sounds really good, or that sounds really, yeah, that's the greatest idea ever. So, and you're going to see a lot of information I put in these packets for you, because I put a little bit about motivation, how to motivate people. And the first couple pages are very academic looking. This comes from the fact that I've got an MBA in international business and marketing. This all comes from that background. And it's looks like a lot of high ideals, but basically boils down to, you know, you find what motivates a person, you apply it to them, and you can motivate them. Then I also put in this last page is how to develop ideas. And I ran across this 7 years ago at a conference, and they were talking about a coffee shop. The whole idea of a coffee shop, where they took ideas and they broke it down and said, okay, how can we create new ideas? And this is kind of a little chart or ideals how to go through something. And I think that's really it. If I've got any questions.
What are some of the things that you did in Kiwani to network with what are some of the things that you're doing that's working for you?
Really, I've got an associate who's lived in, or who's actually, well, plain simple, Tana's son is one of my associates, and of course, he's developed a network of people that he comes in contact, especially working for Tana and Pete's business for a while, being a manager, living there as long as they did. Well, he has different contacts, so we're using him, I'm applying his contacts. I mean, unfortunately, most of the people I network with are our age, my age, older generation, parents of Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. Some of the businesses I deal with in scouting that do donations, but we're going a different route. We're trying something new. We're thinking out of the box. We're going to Dairy Queen and McDonald's because he knows the managers there to put our flyers there. It's one of the things, really. I mean, I'm using my resources like the best way I can put it.
All right, does that give everybody some idea?